What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel. Today, episode 23 for our Madden 21 Detroit Lions franchise. This episode is going to be free agency. The entirety of this episode is going to be our free agency period. I have looked through the comments, trying to figure out what the best, kind of strategy plan for attack is for this offseason, as I do think we're all pretty much in agreement that, losing in the Super Bowl, our window is now, so maybe let's ramp up maybe our spending in the offseason, maybe our gambles in the draft to try and make this team just whatever we need to get over that hump to compete for a Super Bowl in year number 3. Something that is worth looking at, because I was like, when you look at this right here, you see we have $40 million of cap room, and we ended the last episode by making some cuts. Like, we got rid of, like, Big V's ugly contract and a couple other bad contracts. But I'm still, like, looking at my team and being like, I should have a lot more salary cap. And I don't know if this is from the Stafford trade. I don't really know what is going on. But I was looking here at our dead salary. And it's like $35 million. That is our salary cap penalty right now. That's a lot. Like that, that kind of makes sense. Like, why don't we have a whole lot of money spending? So with that in mind, knowing that that is our dead cap hit this year, and hopefully if we have to go to a year 4, it's not going to be as bad. I'm a lot more open-minded to spending as much of this $40 million as we can, because we know we're going to have that much more salary cap if we have to go into a year 4. So I've looked through the comments, kind of getting a strategy, and it seems kind of in line with what I want to do, less one player. I think it's important to add some depth here. We do have injuries on. We haven't had great injuries to overcome so far in this series, but it's only a matter of time till that kind of hits. So I'm looking here for a backup quarterback. Some interesting options, but more so expensive options. Sam Darnold's there. Daniel Jones, who was our backup last season. We could bring back, that's just, that wouldn't be right, I don't think. So I was kind of just looking our way down here, and I think Minshew, I'm going to lowball him on an offer here. There's no way, like I said, I'm giving a 3-year, $8 million deal. It's just, I feel like I would want him as a backup. My question to myself was, am I going to draft a quarterback to be Spencer Rattler's backup? No. So if Spencer Rattler does get hurt, which one of these QBs would I actually generally try to want to go on a run on? And I think that would be Minshew. I think Minshew would be great for video content if Spencer Rattler did go down injury. So we're going to try to land him as our backup quarterback. For running backs, I did think about trying to bring in a third running back. I was looking here, you get like Boston Scott and some of these. We'll wait and see. I got $4 million, as you can see up there, after I show you guys all these bids. Maybe, getting ready for the last wave of free agency, we could look at one of these running backs. I mean, there are some guys, I think Jalen Samuels is interesting, especially as a pass catcher. He could be interesting. I like Boston Scott. That's more so Eagles bias. We still could be looking to get that power back. Like a Royce Freeman, getting him in there. Benny Snell, someone that can add that little added dimension. But again, I do think, personally, if it comes to that power back scenario, there's absolutely more room for Bronson Rexsteiner to get more touches as our starting fullback / short yardage back. So that kind of leaves you to fullback. We're sticking with Rexsteiner. Wide receiver is the one position that I feel like we're not going to spend any money on. We have Slayton and Preston Williams, which you can see there. Beyond that is Cephas and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So we have 4 legitimate wide receivers that I like, not even including Jahan Dotson, the hidden dev rookie that we drafted last season. So we have 5 wide receivers. If there was a guy that I was, really, really, really big fan of, maybe I could pull the trigger. I thought about, how you could look at someone like Agnew, actually used to be on Detroit, bring him in just purely as a special team specialist, because we don't really have that dynamic return man. And again, we could open that up, much like bringing in another running back a little bit later in the stages of free agency, not on our initial wave, because we might need that money, this little bit of buffer, that $4 million, to renegotiate on some of the offers we've actually already extended. So I'm kind of hitting pause here on wide receivers. At tight end, there are some interesting options. I feel like with Parham, we have a bunch of glorified wide receivers trying to make that transition to tight end with Parham, with Hakeem Butler. So I'm looking at something like Jay Sternberger, who is a receiving tight end, but he's actually at least a traditional tight end. Bring him in, 71 overall, scheme fit. Get a low ball, just trying to get a pure death move here. And see if we can just add and kind of complete that tight end room. On the offensive line, I did think about, offering Andre Dillard just to have depth behind Taylor Decker. And if he's still there, last wave of free agency, hell, even if Greg Little's still there, could be, you know, that could be money well spent, just getting that depth there and not having to rely on the draft, because the draft is not very fun trying to draft offensive linemen. For the rest of the O-line, we have our depth, we have our starters. I don't think it really makes a whole lot of sense to spend a lot of money there. Same goes for right tackle. Could look for a depth here, but we also could just kind of wait for late rounds in the upcoming draft. Defensively, this is where we want to spend a little bit of money. This is where we're going to get better. Our offense was awesome. Our defense, not so awesome. Definitely got exposed when we tick things up there to all Madden. So what I am looking for on the defensive line, this is the one player I can't get. I want Matt Ioannidis. It's very much a short-term signing. He is 29. He's at his peak. But that being said, when I think of a Liam McNeil, don't hate him. Like, he was on the short list for Defensive Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. He's solid when I play with him. So it's like, from a user standpoint, Ioannidis of our shortlist guys was definitely bottom of that shortlist. And if I could have found a way to offer him a contract, I would have. But right now, it just seems a little too expensive. So we're going to rock with the Liam McNeil at nose tackle. And then we'll just keep our front three. The front three the way it was with Onwuzurike. You have a Liam McNeil. D-tackle 3 on subsets D-tackle 2, will be Deshaun Hand right there. Another star dev, 74. And then we got Mo Hurst. I feel like that D-line is still fairly solid. It's the rest of the defense, the rest of the front seven that I think needs to get a little bit better. So for our edge rushers here, we have Drake Jackson, the first-round pick last year out of USC, which is fine. Again, for depth, more so, let's look towards the draft. Inside, we have Fred Warner and Tavai. Tavai doesn't look brutal, 26.75 with that star dev. But ultimately, I do think middle linebacker, I've had my issues with Fred Warner. Let's just say it that. Middle linebacker still not where I want it to be. So what I am going to do is I am going to get the man formerly known as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And if we can sign him, he will be once again known as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Right now he identifies as a robot. I'm going to try to sign him, and we'll move him to middle linebacker. And he will play middle linebacker alongside Fred Warner. Because right now, it's not the run defense. It's not like I'm having an issue with my linebackers when running backs get to the second level. Sure, now and again, there might be a missed tackle, but my issue is covering the short pass, covering the running back, covering the tight end, covering the slants across the middle of the field. And I think between Fred Warner, who a lot of people regard as the best pass coverage linebacker, he has, obviously we gave him the avalanche ability, but if we wanted to, we could give him the X factors and focus everything for his 2 superstar abilities and his X factor ability for covering the pass. And we throw someone like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson that has a middle linebacker skill set, even though he's a safety, but he has that safety coverage ability. He played a little bit of corner at Florida. Those two guys, like, that should solidify the middle of the field. So we're going to try to get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, or right now, Chauncey Robot, and we're going to move him to middle linebacker with Fred Warner. That is the big first contract that we're throwing out. Second big contract, Van Ginkel. Scheme fit here. We need more edge rush help. He's 28, 79 star dev. He's just the best of a weak edge class for free agents, but he still is, an 8-point upgrade over Aquara, has the dev trait. I'm only offering him a 2-year deal, so it's not like I'm giving him a lot of money that he's going to be, 31, 32, 5-year, 4-year contract. I'm only offering him a 2-year deal, so hopefully we can land him. He can kind of be a Band-Aid until either a really juicy-looking edge rusher falls to us in the draft, or, hey, he might be good enough for us to go on and win a Super Bowl next season. So we're throwing money there. Secondary, not so much. I feel like our secondary is kind of like... it's kind of like our wide receiver room, where like we don't have a lot of superstar talent. Okuda looks nice, or Oruwariye solid, but we have bodies. Josh Jackson led our team in picks. He's the third corner. You're not seeing him there, and I think that's a spot. Knowing draft classes, especially eventually going to get, if we don't win next year, we have to go to year 4, year 5, however long, right? Hell, right up to Madden 22 launch. Corners are really easy to draft. Corner is a spot that you never want to overpay on the open market, especially because we do have a budget. Didn't have $70, $80 million of cap, only had 40. So I think our corner room is good where it's at. And later free agency, like go and get ready for that final window there. Maybe we try to grab another depth corner, but I think right now our corner room is okay. The other big contract is Minkah Fitzpatrick. I want to get more X Factors on my team. Like right now you're allowed, 3 X Factors active at one time? And that should be ultimately your kind of goal for a team that's where we are right now. We are trying to win a Super Bowl, so you better maximize having those 3 X Factors on offense, 3 X Factors on defense. And right now, we have 1 X Factor on offense, and that is Mr. DeAndre Swift. Hopefully, we can get Spencer Rattler there. And the way that Darius Slayton's eaten, probably can get Darius Slayton there in a matter of time. But you flip it to the defensive side, we only have one X factor in Fred Warner. So you get someone like Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's in his prime, who is a massive upgrade over Tracy Walker. I feel like we got to take a swing there. So those are the bids that we are trying to land right now. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Chauncey Robot, Van Ginkel. Then I'm looking for depth. I got Mac Wilson here, Sternberger, Gardner Minshew, and Jachai Polite. Will we get all of them? Hopefully. I would say if things get a little shaky, if we don't get Minkah, Chauncey, or Van Ginkel on the first wave, other bids come in. How I would prioritize this, for me, Minkah would be number one, because we got to get that X factor back there. If I had to take the money and we had to drop Van Ginkel, because you still got to view, right now, Van Ginkel, Chauncey, who would be moving to middle linebacker, and Minkah at free safety, those are also like peak prime positions that we could invest our first round draft pick in. So we don't have to get all these guys right away in free agency. If we can get two and then have to substitute one of these dudes for our first round draft pick, so be it. But let's get to the second wave here, see if we can land all our targets. So first wave has come, and we landed Jay Sternberger. So we now have our tight end 2, and we got Chauncey. We're going to rename him Gardner Johnson. We have a middle linebacker to play next to Fred Warner. I might actually go 100% in the opposite direction here. I'm looking at him between him and Ronnie Harrison. And, obviously there's different skill sets that you want for linebackers. But, Harrison's solid in coverage. Big advantage going Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in coverage. But the more I look at this, 80 tackle, 92 hit power, 80, Ronnie Harrison's going to be our middle linebacker. We're going to get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson at strong safety, and Ronnie Harrison is going to be our new middle linebacker. So with the confidence boost, Ronnie Harrison Jr., big upgrade over Tavai. And I feel like there is some solid depth there with Tavai, but I will throw him up in the trade block. Someone might be interested, but 99, Harrison's at 83, and then at strong safety, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is now here. So let's go look at the rest of our bids. If we can completely revamp our safety room here by getting Minkah, that'd be pretty dope. So look at the rest of our bids. We're still the only bid for Minkah, still the only bid for Van Ginkel. No other, it's just, all right, let's roll right to the next stage, see if we can get these contracts hammered out. Next wave of free agency, there we go. They're falling, man. They're one by one, they're falling. Minkah, locked in. Van Ginkel, locked in. We got Jachai Polite, an opportunity to pick up the 5th-year option on Jeff Okudah, which absolutely we are going to kick that can down the road. Let's select yes. And what hell of a free agency so far for the Detroit Lions. Adding some depth, we got our backup quarterback in Gardner Minshew and more middle linebacker depth, especially we can find a trade partner for Tavai in landing in Mac Wilson, formerly of Alabama and the Cleveland Browns. So at the conclusion of free agency, getting a look at the recap before we look at our finished product, what our work looks like. There are still some guys out there we have offers on, most likely aren't going to get them, but we threw up feelers for Boston Scott, Greg Little, and Andre Dillard and Little. Just depth at tackle, and Boston Scott would be RB4, come in and compete for RB3. But we got all of our top targets. Everyone really outside of Matt Ioannidis, and if we had a little less dead salary cap, probably could have got Matt Ioannidis as well. Looking around the league, J.J. Watt's going to the Carolina Panthers, Kareem Hunt to the 49ers, Juice Landry to the Patriots, as well as Matt Ioannidis. Devin McCourty going to the Seahawks, Isaiah Wynn going to the 49ers, Jordan Poyer going to the, Patriots making a run here. Levante David. So the Patriots, Panthers, and 49ers all look like they spent as much money as they possibly could in free agency. That's fine. Whatever. They're not gonna compete with us next year. And here's what our squad looks like. 85s across the board now. 85 overall, 85 offense, 85 defense. On the offensive side of the ball, obviously for changes, not much. Depth moves at most. Get a depth tight end there in Sternberger. And generally, and a backup quarterback in Minshew, but generally offense was good. The defense is where we spent big time bucks. We signed Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, which allowed us to kick in Ronnie Harrison, a middle linebacker, to play next to Fred Warner. Superstar X Factor in Minkah Fitzpatrick now at free safety. And, you look at this and be like, oh, well, maybe if we could have had Ioannidis there instead of Lynn McNeil, maybe we'd be better. But I like this defense. It's definitely been the right kind of moves. And the moves have only improved the guys that are supposed to cover the middle of the field. That's been our issue. It's not like we're getting beat down deep every single time by verts or anything like that. We're pretty good on the outside. It's just the middle of the field has absolutely been killing us. So bringing in 2 brand new safeties, adding I don't know what it is without having the boost there, but You know, a massive upgrade. Double digit, almost feels like goddamn upgrade at middle linebacker. Almost 10 points. That better stop the middle of the field. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So now it is time to start the draft. We are going to just quickly right now, we have to wait all the way to pick 22. We're going to sim right to our pick, look at the board, and then from that, in the comment section, I want you guys to give me your rough mock drafts. Obviously, it's going to be tough to say, hey, C4, this is what I want you guys to get in round 5, 6, and 7. But at least for the first couple rounds, let's try to get a little bit of a game plan here for how we should approach this with the Detroit Lions. So the board, these are the guys that have gone. And let's just get a quick look at that. Players that have been drafted. Can I actually look around the league? Probably not. Okay. Well, whatever. I don't care. These are the guys that are available. So at quarterback, we're not touching QB. Running back, there are still some top RBs available. Again, like, do we really need to like Tank Bigsby is actually insane for Auburn, but do we really need to mess around with our backfield? Zach Evans, early first round talent in the second round. Maybe if that's there in the second round, we could look at bringing that, addressing the running back spot right now with DeAndre Swift, Matt Breida. I think it would be, a misuse of resources. Same goes for wide receiver. We had a couple second rounders here. Marvin Mims probably should be higher. This guy's outstanding. Raheem Jarrett from Maryland has a late first round grade, but our wide receiver room is Gucci. Same goes for tight end. Baby Gronk there with the third round. Ugh, some of these ratings are rough. Offensive line, I don't really think there's much work that needs to be done there unless there's a true BPA. Now flipping to the defense, don't really have any edge rushers that are steals at this point, especially at just for what our defense is looking like. We do have Alfred Collins here, could play D-end, late first rounder from Texas. Tyler Lacey, OK State. But definitely something I have noticed using these draft classes that were made. Not by me, they're just what comes with kind of the Start Today mod. Not a lot of steals, not a lot of guys that are insane value or anything like that. Edge rushing depth, there are plenty of options here. We have Nolan Smith, insane combine report, early second rounder. Funa from Oregon, mid-second rounder. BJ Ojulari's brother went to the Giants, I believe, from Georgia. He's there as well. Okay. So we got some edge depth. Middle linebacker, don't need that. Wesley Steiner from Auburn. Looks pretty good. Good combine report, but, especially with kicking in Ronnie Harrison, middle linebacker, we're good there. Harvey looks to be some solid value. Late second rounder for the third. Don't know if I really want to pull the trigger there. But I'd say right now, like Nolan Smith, probably top of the leaderboard for where we're looking. I'll get Funa here and Ojulari as well. Flipping into the secondary, this is where we wanted some value for sure. Because I think there is room if we can get a corner with good dev trait. Could see the field sooner than later. And looking at the guys that are available right now. Okay, well, we got Tyreek Stevenson. Has some value, but not a lot. Tony Grimes, North Carolina, mid-third rounder. I mean, again, we're not going to be burning a first-round pick on guys that are going mid-third round. Early third round for Wright from Oregon. We have Jalen Jones, late second rounder. Malachi Moore, early second rounder. That's probably as much of a reach as I would make in the cornerback department right there, getting more from Alabama. And again, what's the impact there? Looking at safety, well, that's just where we spent all our money in free agency, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Generally, the draft board sucks. This is kind of, unfortunately, what happens. I don't want to just roast whoever actually made these draft class files, but, make it fun. This is brutal. This is not, there's no steals. There's no fun guys that we're able to uncover through scouting or anything like that. So, I don't know, man. Right now, I'm thinking, probably, these are the best players available to us is on our short board here. Nolan Smith, Funa, Ojulari, Malachi Moore, Zach Evans, Bijan Robinson. If you could make a mock draft out of that, sure. But, the only thing I'm thinking here is, Nolan Smith has the great combine. Not typical build, 6'3", 236 for a 3-4 outside linebacker and edge rusher in that department. But understanding that Van Ginkel is, kind of a stretch. He's not going to be elite. So if we are thinking more so that we don't win the Super Bowl next year, we're going to be going year 4. Someone like Van Ginkel could be upgraded upon. We could get that next great edge rusher. And obviously, Nolan Smith, a much better athlete than Van Ginkel. But, generally not a great draft board. But that's kind of, you're a victim of your own success here. We're picking at 22. We don't have one of those top-tier picks. So you kind of, it is what it is. But you also need to see, look at that. You pick at 22. Look at the top there. Our next pick at 31. So we have 2 first-round picks. Yes, sir. So I don't know. You know, use with that what you want. 2 first-round picks. Give me your mock draft for the players that you want. Hey, honestly, you can make a bias. Like if you're a fan of one of these guys. Not necessarily what's the best move for Detroit, but what's the best move for this series. What's one player you want to see come in? Let me know in the comment section below, and we could take a look at that. But that'll do it for me today, guys. That was the free agency episode. Tomorrow will be the draft because I got to do that today so that I can have this file franchise sent over so the guy can give me 17-game schedule for year number 3. So I'll see you guys back then. Thank you very much for watching. As always, first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And what a free agency episode this was. Getting some big-time playmakers. Minshew Mania, at least from the backup standpoint, could potentially run wild. Harrison, a middle linebacker. We got Minkah Fitzpatrick. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson transition from a robot back to a starting strong safety. We're gonna be ready to go, man, in year number 3. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.